Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
The wide-open spaces of Monza get traded in for the tiny, cramped bull ring of Lime Rock. This legendary sports car track has frustrated drivers for decades, but when you toss multi-class racing into the mix, suddenly things begin to boil over. There's no place to run and no place to hide. Everyone will be dealing with the same nightmarish traffic as everybody else. Let's see who manages it best as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Between its tiny lap length and atypical race days, Lime Rock Park is unique in a variety of ways. Let's head over to our track guide to find out more. Welcome to Lime Rock Park. Located in the northwest corner of Connecticut, this unassuming little track has garnered a surprisingly passionate following. Its unique aspects create a circuit not only full of character, but consistently challenging even to modern race cars. While it has 4 different possible layouts, on the classic version, only 7 corners are split along a 1.5 mile track with just a single one of them turning left. Though simple in appearance, most drivers will tell you that trying to be fast here is anything but. The run down the front stretch into Big Bend offers pretty much the only viable passing spot, but it's a double apex right-hander which lures drivers into taking it too fast. The uphill is also scary quick considering its lack of runoff and can sometimes cause cars to get airborne over its crest. Then, on the opposite end, the downhill sends cars diving into a quick sweeper which requires a good exit speed in order to defend or attack back into the first corner. Modern racing mostly uses the more recently built chicanes, especially at the uphill. But one of the most unusual facts about this track is that the races are never held on Sunday. Due to a legal agreement with a nearby church, events must take place on Fridays and Saturdays. The confines around this place are tight, the passing opportunities are few, and mistakes are usually punished with race-ending damage. With most other road courses now being built with upwards of 3 and 4 miles in length, this track stands out. But in an age of multi-million-dollar facilities and flashy buildings, this quaint small circuit manages to keep fans coming back with its intimate and grassroots setting. It's quite a small track here, but Adam, as we were talking about before the broadcast went live, it is chock full of action no matter who races here.
It definitely is, Joe. It's a familiar stomping ground for rookie drivers, but Lime Rock Park instills fear and trepidation into the drivers of the Upper Class Series. This minuscule 1.53 mile or 2.462 kilometer 7-turn course is narrow everywhere but the front straight and features some high curves and challenging cambers that can threaten to destroy your car. This course is a GTP nightmare with only 2 high-speed corners and many low-speed, tight radius turns with no runoff, and that means a light foot will be required. The GTOs don't like this place any more than the GTPs, though, with all those slow corners only making the famous Audi push worse, and the high-speed corners requiring more of a lift than you would like. Multi-class-wise, Yo boy, there isn't really a safe place to pass aside from the front stretch, but expect the GTPs to be making a lot of very risky moves to try and maintain their gaps to their same class competitors, and expect the Audis to more or less be punching bags for the GTPs' battles. Survival is the name of the game here, Joe, and that is much easier said than done.
Certainly is. We've seen some of the wildest races over the years of coverage here with Kamel on GSRC at this track, but this is early in the season. We've only had one round, so we do have points on the board, but it's exactly as they finished back at Monza. Hovdahl with a bit of a surprise win, but certainly showing great pace. Fabian Gerber, we saw him start on the back foot last season, and yet he came back and won the championship by a wide margin. So don't count him out by any stretch. Martin Krajcik, Tobias Gerber, and Stefan Schlacher round out the top 5 in the GTPs. And Adam, you've got the update on the GTOs.
Yep, Jamie Hall won it last week with Phil Lake in second place, so that puts them in 1 and 2 in the GTO standings. Rob Olenek, Zhuko Lasala, and Chris Toms are going to round out your top 5. One interesting thing to note about the points, though, last week did split, whereas this week did not. So that puts Marcus Romer, the winner of last week's second split, in 8th position right now. So just off this board, but he's not too far out of the lead of the points. So even when they do split, you could still gain some good points in that second split.
Indeed. Unfortunately, he's not racing here today, it seems, as we've got a bit of a smaller field. And speaking of today, let's go over the race details as well. Round 2 out of 13 weeks this time. If you're just catching up on that, iRacing is extending it to 13 weeks for just this season. It is open setup for this 40-minute race, so drivers can do as they please to try to get the most out of these cars. And there's no fast repairs. So if you do wind up with damage, and there will be cars that wind up with damage today, you've got to come into the pits and try and get that repaired if it's too much to run with. They have a penalty at 17 incidents, which should be a drive-through, and then a disqualification at 25. Let's hope that we don't get too many drivers that have to come into the pits for that or disappear off the track. Qualifying's underway, and Fabian Gerber holds the provisional pole in the prototypes. Antti Lepisto's still out there running and hasn't set his first lap, so that could still change. And this is Hideki Koivisto that we see on screen right now. As we switch over to the number 1 car, this should be his first time lap, I believe. Yes, a 44.7, and that is going to put him up to 7th. That's a ways down the order. Phil Lake, by the way, leads the GTO standings currently in qualifying.
And here's Ryan Lang crossing the line for what will be his second timed lap. It is good enough to improve to 5th position, so starting in the top 5. Now, this is such a short track, Joe, that just in the couple of minutes we were spending talking about the track and the points, most of these guys are already done with their qualifying. Nicholas Weatherby trying to finish his second lap here. It is faster, but did it count is the question. It's so easy to get off tracks here, and it did. A 46.953 is good enough for him. Pablo Rangel, his first lap comes in, and he's good enough for 6th position here in the GTOs.
Ooh, a quicker lap, 7/10 quicker lap for Antti Lepisto, but that still puts him in 4th. It is such tight margins. 4th place is a little over a 10th back from our pole sitter Gerber in the prototypes. This is Paulo Stella that we saw there as we look at Dormidinov there in the number 11. His second lap sadly did not count, so that 55.9 will have to stand. One we need to watch out for is Jamie Hall. Tends to be a fast driver. He's yet to put a time in yet, and he's actually going through the chicane right now as we watch Rangel come around.
Yeah, the thing about Jamie Hall is that he actually took a look at what time it is in Sim right now. It is 6:30 at virtual standard time right now in qualifying, and that means that the track is starting to cool off. So he waited till the very end of this qualifying session in order to start putting in times. But let's see whether or not that benefits him as he crosses the line of 51.696. It did not count, though, so he got an off track that time around. Actually, I believe that was... No, that...
Yeah, that was his... That was his first timed lap.
That's
so very strange stuff.
Well, that's
let's
tough.
hold on to
it's
here.
It's going to be tough for him. He's going to be our second to last qualifier to cross the line here. So Jamie Hall is going to have to put in a clean lap right now. He just needs a banker. He cannot afford to start behind the rest of his class. So he just needs to make sure to keep it clean. He doesn't need a fast lap. He can pass a couple of guys on track, but starting all the way back in 12th position would be unacceptable.
So does he continue to go hard? Does he go for that banker? What's he going to do? Number
Oh,
7, pushes the limit, and that's definitely a discounted lap for Jamie Hall. A lot of hard work to do here today in round 2 of the Kamel GT series. Bad news for Trevor Kelly fans. He also had a discounted second lap. Oh boy, this is going to be a very difficult day for a number of drivers. Dor Midanov also, his best lap is still his first one. He's done with qualifying. That is going to be everybody. And so our grid is set here today as Fabian Gerber takes the pole with Nick Mukanos starting next to him up at the front of our GTP field. Laust Olsen, third place for the number 19. Continued improvement race after race with Antti Lepisto starting fourth next to him. Tobias Gerber, Fabian's brother, will be starting in P5. You got Fabian Jungbluth next to him in sixth position. Martin Krejcik will be starting P7. Then you've got Clayton McLeod, and not a bad result for him. Qualifying 8th here today, pretty much in the mid-pack. Pablo Suarez starts in 9th, and the top 10 of the prototypes are rounded out by Bert Olsen. Hideki Koivisto, he'll be starting in 11th. Nicholas Weatherby 12th. You got Paulo Stella, the last one to get a lap in the prototypes. He starts 13th, and 14th, Trevor Kelly. You don't see him on here, but he will be gridded at the back of his class in 14th.
Phil Lake is going to take pole with Juco Lascala starting alongside him. That will be an interesting battle to the line as they will be coming through the downhill sweeper when they get the green flag. Jake Johansson's going to start off third with Ralph Zeipelt starting off in fourth position. Ryan Lang's going to start off fifth with Pablo Rangel in sixth. Those two guys battled a lot last race. And we have Richard Spitzmaller starting off in the seventh position with Jamie Hall in eighth. And then Riley Downey is going to start off ninth with Jim McGill 10th. And then Alexei Dormitidov was our last driver to put in a qualifying time in 11th. And Jamie Hall, last week's winner, will start off in the 12th position, last of our 26 cars on track.
There's going to be a lot happening, and if it's hard to keep up with as you watch the screen, well, if you got the screen space, head on over to GSRC.tv, where you can follow all the action live for every car on track. Our live timing and scoring will be up all race long. If you want to see how Jamie Hall does when we aren't showing him on camera and see if he can climb his way through the order, that's where you can find that, as well as watching every other driver out there. So, waiting for the Porsche pace car to lead them around on the pace lap. As Adam mentioned, it is evening time here. It's 6:30 p.m. virtual standard time currently here at Lime Rock and iRacing as the sun beautifully sets here off the gearbox cam. So 82 degrees Fahrenheit currently on the track surface. That's a pretty good Goldilocks temperature that we've got today, Adam.
Yeah, that's pretty decent for these drivers. It's not too hot, and we'll definitely be cooling down over the course of this race. Now, one thing to note, the Audi GTOs do not have real headlights. They're painted-on headlights on the front of those machines. So, as this place gets darker, it's going to be harder and harder for them to see, and it'll be harder and harder for the GTPs to see them as well.
So, something to keep your mind on as you watch this race progress. There goes the Porsche pace car leading them away. Thankfully, at least it's a short pace lap around here, so it won't take terribly long for us to get going for 40 minutes of racing here in round 2 of the Kamel GT series. Now, we don't have Hovdal here today. In fact, we don't have a lot of names here today that typically we expect. And if you're wondering what's going on, well, it's the Le Mans 24 Hours on iRacing. As the virtual version of that race being held here on the iRacing services pull a lot of drivers away to help their teams out, and they're probably in the early few hours of those races trying to work their way around the French circuit. Still, as we were saying, Adam, it's with a slightly smaller field. This actually might be a good thing for this track.
Yeah, this track gets clogged even with the 26 drivers we have here today. The person I'm going to keep my eye on in the GTPs is Nicholas Bukanos. He has gotten so close to another win in the especially last round, but also in the final round of last season, and that was before the update. Now remember, big wreck at the GTPs as they're going through the chicane. That's going to negatively affect quite a few drivers.
We'll have to come back to that in a bit. I think it was just essentially the checkup that gets caused. And it looks like maybe Bert Olsen was at the forefront of that. I think the GTOs did a little better trying to get through. Well, That certainly caused some damage even before they see the green flag, and that's going to make life very difficult. But the pace car is already out of diving turn, and Fabian Gerber will have control momentarily. There goes the Porsche pace car down to pit lane. Green flag is out immediately, and Gerber with a very good jump over Mukanos. He's going to duck down to the inside to cover off Olsen and Lepisto. 3 wide behind them as McLeod, Gerber, and Krejcik get that sorted out. Looks like we're good through turn 1 and 2. Let's go to the GTOs.
Phil Lake timed the start perfectly, but unfortunately, Juco Lascala, with enough draft, was able to get in behind Phil Lake and pass him through turn 1. So now as they're going through the left-hander and the right-hander, they've got a lot of trouble right now. They're just a little bit stacked up in the back, but mostly single file.
Single file as well, as you can see for the prototypes there. As we look back up towards the front now, Gerber and Mukanos starting to pull away from Laus Olsen back in third. They come around to complete the first lap. Best battle we've got is back there. You can see the car diving to the inside. That's Lepisto covering off Tobias Gerber. In fact, Tobias going to try and send it in deep into the Big Bend, and it's not quite going to work out for him, but he's already got Lepisto on the ropes here.
Just a couple updates from the back of the pack. Ralph Zeipelt in the GTOs had a little bit of a spin. So did Pablo Suarez in the GTPs. They're both back on track, but way down the order as we see these battles going on in the GTPs. Quite good battles going on right now.
Yeah, we're on board with Tobias. Still racing up against Antti Lepisto, the Finn ahead of him in the number 1 machine. As they work their way towards diving turn one more time. This is where he had his best shot last lap. A little far behind this time, and Lepisto, now that the tires seem to be warmed up, is... Oh, what's going on down in GTOs?
Juco Lascala, our leader in the GTOs, blew the braking for the chicane. He is now tucked back in the back of the pack, and he's actually behind Jamie Hall, who's up to 4th from 12th position. This man might have an opportunity to possibly win the race. There's a pass going on for the lead, though. Philip Lake being challenged by Jake Johansson into turn 1, and Philip Lake's going to keep that position.
Johansson, who has been a driver that's shown up from time to time and vied for wins, is doing so again. He stays right behind Phil Lake in that number 5 machine. If they keep fighting, Ryan Lang back there in the number 21. I feel like he might have a shot. And like you mentioned, Jamie Hall already. He's the green car that you can see at the tail of this little train that we've got. Man, how did he get into 4th in all of this?
Unbelievable moves from the start of the race. He's just been taking advantage of some of the slower cars that do not quite have the same feel for this track that he does. He is on a roll. He's already back to the back of Ryan Lang. He's going to make the pass before they get to turn 1. Jamie Hall is moving up the field. He's making some serious power moves right now.
With a shallow exit as well. He's deep on the brakes down into Big Bend, and the sun comes back out. Jamie Hall already onto the podium. They are only on lap 4 from dead last on the field. So next on his list is Johansson, and then he gets to his teammate, Phil Lake.
Couple of other drivers having trouble. Pablo Rangel had a spin. Richard Spechmaler had a spin as well. So those are 2 GTO drivers who had some trouble. We also saw Trevor Kelly have a spin in the GTP. So a lot of drivers really struggling with this track. Tobias Gerber is the next victim.
Yes, off of Big Bend. I think he must have gone wide. Yeah, this was a lone car incident. They've caught up to the traffic. You can see they're already dealing with it. Just slides out wide, and as soon as he touches that grass, he's actually quite lucky he didn't wind up in the wall or the weeds there, because he can go right into those trees.
Usually the drifting is reserved for the Audis after the race, but that was a drifting GTP right there. Good control from him.
So how is Fabian dealing with these slower Audis now that he's caught up to them? He's still got Mukanos less than a second back.
Oh no!
Gerber just made contact, and that was with Jamie Hamill-Smith. The 23 got shoved off in the left-hander.
The GTP has to take that line. He has to try and make that move. Otherwise, he's going to lose too much speed on the straightaways. And so he just expected Jamie Hamill-Smith to move over to the right like most GTOs do. And Jamie Hamill stayed in the middle of the track, so he gets a little bit of a nudge. But that severely affected his straight line speed. Nick Mukanos now right on the back rear wing of Fabian Gerber.
And remember, Gerber suffered from a little bit of damage himself last week, and that cost him the win. Is this what Nick Mukanos has been waiting for? It's not close enough to attack down into Big Bend, but more traffic up ahead. This time it's Ryan Lang and then Leskala in there. They're both going to get through, maybe just sneaking by.
Lars Olsen tucked in behind them as well, trying to get his way past Ryan Lang. Is able to do so, but he lost about a second due to that. And so, wow, Nick Makanos is powering up here, but now they're dealing with the leaders in the Audis. This is the top four that they're tucked in behind. Fabian Gerber and Nick Makanos. I don't know how they're going to get by these guys until the front straight.
Well, he's going to get at least one here, and it looks like Makanos is going to try and follow him through, putting them offline. This slows them up severely, and Laust Olsen gains a bunch just through that one corner. He's got a head of steam as they approach Big Bend. A little bit of a look to the inside from Nick Makanos on Fabian Gerber. He's going to just try and get by Jamie Hall, second place in the GTOs, and this is stacking up the field of the prototypes immensely.
Oh, this is awesome. It's just cool to see, and it's really challenging for all these drivers to try and navigate all of this safely. Remember that these guys are all friends. They all know each other very well, especially those who showed up today, and they're all trying to figure their way through. Here we go. Fabian Gerber got held up there. Nick Makanos with a good opportunity. Down the sweeping turn onto the final straight. He just could not keep the power down. Too afraid that Richard Spitzwaller might cause an incident. So Nick Makanos backed off a little bit, but he's still right on that rear bumper. And once again, they're about to catch up to 10th place in the GTOs. That's how short this track is. It's already so spread out.
Yeah, we're barely 7 minutes into this race, and they've passed the entire field of GTOs. We're on board with Nick Makanos still chasing Fabian Gerber. Looking over his shoulders, they come into the chicane section, having to be oh so careful with those tall curbs. Got some action. Oh, and a car off track as our leaders go by in the GTOs. This is Johansson being challenged by Leskala on his way back through.
Oh man, here comes Leskala with a good opportunity, but it gets caught out by Clayton McLeod trying to go around, and now he's going to lose tons of time being stuck on the outside there. So Johansson's going to be able to run away with this, but the battle is for 5th place in the GTPs. That's Clayton McLeod and Martin Kraytrick. Kraytrick trying to go around the outside of McLeod. McLeod packs it into the corner. He's able to hold it there. Wow, these GTPs are taking some risks here.
And now they approach Jamie Hall, who definitely doesn't want to be giving up time. He's going to have to, because they're going to take away the apexes in the S's just behind them. Don't forget Hideki Koivisto in there as well. In fact, he's gained a lot through this exchange, but now it looks like he might lose a little himself, as Kraytrick is still stuck behind McLeod, looking for 5th. Oh! And it was that Jungbluth? That was Jungbluth that he just plowed into, and Clayton McLeod with an absolute shocker of a wreck.
The track still. McLeod was still sideways across the track as everyone is able to make it past safely, but that was very dangerous.
And, I mean, there's not much he could do about that. Phil Lake was to the inside of Jungbluth, and he just got loose.
Look at him come across the track here. Then he holds the... Oh, my goodness.
Phil's got a good angle on this.
That's everywhere you do not want to be. Oh, that's terrifying if you're Phil Lake, because you're afraid he's going to bounce back out into the track.
Well, the racing gods had mercy on Phil, and he's still leading by about 4 seconds over Jamie Hall. Did not make contact, but same can't be said for Jungbluth and McLeod, whose races are now very much over. The lead on the prototypes, by the way, still hovering at about a second between Gerber and Makanos. There you see our leader there, Fabian Gerber, looking for that first win of the season.
Yeah, and Makanos definitely is navigating the traffic better than Gerber is, and that's where he gains all of his time. But as soon as we get into clear air, Gerber pulls away. He just pulled 3/10 just in that last sector alone. So Gerber really does have the straight line speed and that, the clean track figured out, but you're not going to deal with much clean track around here. That's part of the issue with Lime Rock and multi-class. You're going to deal with a lot of that other class. And so if Nick Makanos can stay close enough, he can capitalize on a mistake from Fabian.
Maybe not a mistake, but the traffic Riley Downey up in front of him now. I think he's going to get him at a very good time indeed. The run West Bend is relatively clear, although he goes a little bit wide, almost goes off track as he exits through that swift corner.
We have a battle for P2 in the GTO. Zuko La Scala has taken advantage of the fact that Jamie Hall's been held up in traffic and is now right on his rear bumper. This is Paulo Stella in the 9th place GTP tucked in behind them. He's trying to figure out where to go here. He's going to make it past 1, but he's not going to make it past 2, and that's going to separate our battle by about a second. That's how much time you lose as a GTO getting tucked in behind a GTP through that sector.
This is another one that has impressed. Leskala was, gosh, probably outside of the top 10. I didn't get a chance to see, but he had that cut course penalty when he missed the chicane early on. And being back up in 3rd is no small feat. We ride on board with him in the passenger seat just as Weatherby goes by.
Yeah, and it's so hard to try and get out of the way of a GTP if they take away your line in the GTO. The thing just, as soon as you hit the brakes, the thing just wants to go straight. So you can't really do any trail braking in this GTO to really make it turn anymore. It just wants to go straight under the brakes, and that's because of its 4-wheel drive. So that is what makes things so difficult for these drivers out here. The GTO is trying to stay out of those GTP battles.
Well, I think for now, it looks like Hall is relatively safe because he's pulled decent gap. Let's head back up to our leaders as Mukanos. Oh, no, excuse me. The other Gerber.
This is Tobias Gerber making a making a pass on Pablo Suarez. Suarez just a little bit too susceptible on that straightaway. Tobias Gerber using the draft to make that pass there. So just a good move from Tobias.
Yeah, remember he had his off in Big Bend and started in 5th place, so he's still trying to work back to where he began this race. And his next one is only 2 seconds up. Visto is up the road. Back to our leaders, though. Mukanos still right behind Fabian Gerber and doing a great job of at least keeping the pressure on. We haven't seen too many attempts so far in this race, but certainly mistakes in traffic are causing Fabian a lot of sweating inside that cockpit.
And this is one of those races where you're the driver in the car and you take a look at the clock and you're like, oh my goodness, really? It's only been 13 minutes? It's so stressful, and there's so many things you have to take into consideration, so many dangerous situations you have to avoid. Here comes Fabian Gerber on the back of Zuko La Scala. Zuko knows how to handle the GTPs pretty well. He actually brakes a little bit on the exit to make sure that these guys get through cleanly, but still it's enough to hold up Gerber, as Gerber's going to be up to Hall here on the no-name straight. This is such a dangerous portion of the track to try and make it pass, and I think Nick McCarles is going to try and take this opportunity too. He is. A little bit of contact there, and he's going to lose a ton of time.
And Leskala gets up to the bumper, but his momentum being interrupted means everything returns to how it was before. We got to get a close-up shot on Mukanos, though. Did he get damage from that contact? That was a risky move, but practically necessary.
Yeah, I'm taking a look now to see whether or not there was any damage, and it was just one of those scary moments that you have to take a move to try and get there. It looks like everything's fine. There's no clip damage on that machine right now, so I think that they got away with that one, both of them.
Having to go the long way around, unfortunately, through the left-hander. Laust Olsen was liking that, at least. It allowed him to chop it down to 2.5 seconds. We have to give a nice nod to the number 19 here, because not only did he qualify in 3rd, he's still sitting in 3rd and dealing with this race well, almost halfway through it at this point. If any of the 2 ahead of him have any sort of problems, he'll be even higher up on this podium.
If you're wondering where that battle for 2nd place went in the GTOs, Zuko La Scala had a missed shift coming through the chicane, so he's now back about 1.5 seconds from Jamie Hall. So Jamie, once again, free and clear.
It's just been a yo-yo between those two these last few laps as continue to watch the number 19, the Scandinavian, pick his way around the cars. I know we've been talking a lot about him, but for those new to this series, Laust was definitely not a front runner like this at the start of his entry. So I always love an underdog story and a driver who manages to show improvement. So very pleased to see Laust Olsen really shining these last couple seasons.
Yeah, and while we've been watching that, Tobias Gerber was able to make a pass on Hideki Koivisto. Koivisto actually moving out of the way on the front stretch. And so he was able to get by Koivisto pretty cleanly there. Koivisto realizing he's not quite as quick as Tobias Gerber right now. He just let the other driver by.
Yeah, Koivisto probably just trying to see the end of this thing. And he's sitting in 7th, so not too bad right now, especially considering Koivisto started 11th, so he's capitalized a lot on other people's woes. We're down to 9 cars left on the lead lap. Paulo Stella is the last one. All of the GTOs have been lapped twice by this point. Oh, we got a car smoking out on track.
Yeah, that's a Alexei Dorminanov, and he is definitely lost an engine in that machine. He's trying to nurse it back to the pit lane. He holds up Jamie Hall, our second place driver, coming through the downhill, and Dorminanov is going to be able to make it there pretty cleanly.
Yeah, Hall lost a good chunk back to Yuko once again. Oh my goodness, that car is just a barbecue right now. So glad to see him take that into pits. Don't want to see him cause any sort of incidents out
Hall's
on
being
track.
held up again
By his own class.
The two
Hamill Smith.
Jamies. Yeah. That's Jamie Hamill Smith up ahead of him. Jamie Hall tucked in behind him. Jamie loses a bunch of time to Hamill Smith. Is Hamill Smith going to try and go side by side through here? No, he's not. Jugal Skull is going to try and take an opportunity. Thinks better of it and backs out. That was a risky moment.
Being a bit of thorn in the side of both of our second and third place drivers here. As Krajcik is going to get through, and this is Tobias Gerber, who's actually fighting for position here with him, but Tobias loses a bunch of time. Now we can see him go by. That's Tobias in the black and yellow machine as we were on board with Yuko.
Yeah, but now Krajcik getting held up by Jamie Hall because he's being forced to go on the outside. This gives an opportunity to Tobias Gerber here, who really had some speed there. Jamie Hall just running his line, but Krajcik can't find a way by. This is holding up significantly. Now Gerber is going to have to try and make a dangerous... Oh my goodness, Jamie Hall really not giving these guys much room to get by. He doesn't really need to. Tobias Gerber's not going to get held up that much by Jamie through this sector here. But this does hold up Jamie Hall a little bit, tucked in behind Krajcik. Now Gerber's going to get held up. Jamie Hall trying to just hold his line there. Tobias Gerber finally makes it through.
Yeah, remember, Hall is trying to keep this second place. I would say he's fighting for a victory, but all this traffic has caused him to lose even more to Phil Lake. If anything, he's on the defense. Leskala continuing to close with each bit of GTP traffic that holds up Jamie. Now we're looking from his gearbox at Hideki Koivisto.
Yeah, and those of you who may be saying, wow, 26 isn't that much of a number for Kamel these days. Well, look how much chaos they're dealing with on track right now. This is only with 23 drivers because 3 of them are out. But here we go. Jamie Hall now has Juko Leskala right on his rear bumper. Juko looks like he has a little bit too much rear brake bias in that thing because it wants to come around on him after braking here. But he might be using that to try and get the car to turn in a little bit better, but he's in a really good position to chase Jamie Hall. But here we go. This is Pablo Suarez who's going to take away his line. Such a lost opportunity. Those are the moments that hurt the most as in GTOs.
It's got to be frustrating for them, but I guess it's sort of the nature you're used to for this series. By the way, we've been following Tobias Gerber. He is nearly back to where he started. If he gets by Krajcik, that is where he qualified, in 5th place.
Yeah, Tobias has been doing a good job to climb back up there. Martin Krajcik, we know he's been struggling a little bit. He struggled a little bit last race with the handling of the car, and it looks like he's struggling a little bit again here this time around. Looks like he's just got a loose car through the medium speed corners, the down first. Ooh, maybe through the high speeds. He gets a little bit twitchy there on exit. Here comes Tobias Gerber with his opportunity.
He's going to go to the inside, and unless there's a huge defense under braking, and Martin doesn't have that underneath him, it looks like Tobias Gerber back to where he started. Now, he's got 17 seconds to make up to Antilupisto, so this might be where that train stops.
We're about to approach halfway through the race here. Tobias Gerber is trying to make his way past Riley Downey. Downey doesn't see Tobias and actually comes across the track a little bit. Tobias had to back out of it, but now he's going to separate himself and Krajcik by putting Riley Downey right in between them. This is going to hold up Krajcik a lot coming out of the chicane, and that gives him the gap he needs.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that he needed a buffer so that he could start to pull away and not have to worry about Krejcik catching and repassing. Martin still not doing too bad.
We had a wreck. Nick McConnell almost, Paulo Stella got spun out, and Nick McConnell almost got caught up in it. This was between themselves and Jamie Hall. Jamie in the second position in the GTOs. This just happened through the chicane.
Watch this replay. I can also report we don't need a replay of this.
Oh.
There's the incident. I was going to say another incident happened simultaneously with Laust Olsen spinning himself off track and lost a bunch of time to Tobias Gerber. So I spoke too soon, and well, actually lost a position as well. Looks like Lepisto now into third. Wow, so there's Laust returning to the track. You can see he had to cut across a lot of grass, and that's why he lost so much time.
We actually have a battle going on for P1 right now. Fabian Gerber got massively held up behind the lap car of Paulo Stella, so Fabian was actually the one who ended up sending Stella a little bit around. So Nick McConos now tucked in behind him, only 0.5 of a second back, and they're coming up on some very heavy traffic here with the GTOs. This could be Nick's opportunity.
Including our leader, Phil Lake, who's going to stay tucked down into the inside. So he's not going to be an issue for them, but Downey and Rangel.
They're battling for position, Joe.
Yeah. And so they're probably not going to be in a hurry to give away too much. In fact, you can see Riley Downey taking the inside before finally Fabian Gerber can insert himself into it, and he's going to hold up Nick Mucanos. So all that he had gained falls away from him, and Mucanos from 2/10 back is now back to 2 seconds back.
Yeah, that's just the toughest of moments there. And Nick McConnell, there's nowhere he could go. He just has to keep that nose clean. He did exactly what he needed to do that, but unfortunately, he lost all of his advantage that he had gained back on Fabian Gerber.
Just an update, Trevor Kelly had a small self-spin. He gets it going. Don't need to really go there as well. Down in the GTOs, we haven't been looking at the mid-pack here much, but Ryan Lang and Ralph Zeipelt are fighting for a top 5.
Yeah, and Lang seems to have a better understanding of these fast corners, but Zeipelt is much better on the brakes, and that's what's giving Zeipelt the opportunities that he's had. The trouble is that he really is struggling to make any passes because he can't get the speed off the corner.
And I imagine here it's much better to try and get the run down the straights than it is trying to outbrake someone. So they work their way through the S's, now onto the no-name straight, and then into the slowest corner, into the chicane, taking away that uphill. I'm kind of surprised, I have to admit, that they didn't do the classic version here of Lime Rock.
Well, a lot of the GTP drivers have complained in the past that the classic version, the GTPs actually get air over that, and they can actually flip if you're going too fast over that, over the hill. So that may be why they decided to go with the chicane.
I feel educated now as we ride on board with Zeipelt. You had a little bit of a look from Trevor Kelly trying to go past him, but oh, maybe not. Oh, just behind them. That is Hideki Koivisto going around just in front of our leader, Fabian Gerber. Koivisto in the 22 keeps it from hitting anything, but he got caught out by all the traffic.
Yeah, he tries to swing it around quickly around the outside, and I think we've all made this mistake before. He just takes too much speed through the corner, and the car just can't handle it. The weight transfer ends up spinning you because the outside there is a little bit less banked than the inside.
And all you can do as the crew chief for Hideki is say, get in the robot, Hideki. So the 22 continues on in 8th place. Meanwhile, Mucanos is starting to catch back up to Fabian Gerber, or he was. He was a second back. It looks like a little bit more traffic just now slowed him up. That was Kelly and Zeipelt, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I said, Nick McConnors has been handling this traffic a lot better than Gerber, and he's able to do it once again, able to snake his way past Ryan Lang, who we just saw almost involved in that last incident with Koivisto. And McConnors, I mean, this race is not over till it's over. Fabian Gerber can get held up a lot through all of these sectors, and that 2-second gap that you see right now can disappear in one set of turns.
Yeah, honestly, it amazes me that their lap times are as consistent as they are. As we watch the brown number 10 of Nick Mucanos looking for that elusive victory. He gets so close so many times in a variety of ways, and then things seem to just not pan out for him. Remember that battle for 5th in the GTOs? That's still close, and Zeipelt's actually got a good run right now with traffic. In fact, he's going to look to the inside as he outbrakes him. Lang doesn't have much of a response, although he's trying to cling to it around the outside of Big Bend. And finally, he has to give up the ghost. That was helped a little bit by Koivisto, trying to lap the two of them.
Yeah, Zeipelt just walked the car out to the curb there, making sure that Lang could not get couldn't get his nose in there. So Zeipelt able to make that pass pretty cleanly on Lang. Now it's up to Lang to try and strike back if he can. But once again, the lead in the GTPs is closed down again.
Whew, it was as tight as 0.3 of a second. They spread apart slightly. Behind them, Suarez, who was put a lap down, giving watch. They come up to the left-hander, and the number 2 has Jake Johansson, 4th in the GTOs, up in front of him. Is he going to catch him by the chicane, or is he going to be able to get by? I think he might be slowed up here unless he makes a really wild move. No, he can't get past.
So here we go. Nick McConnell's with his best opportunity. He's had him a long time. He's going to have to follow Gerber through. He is going to be able to do it. He braked a little early there. I'm just wondering, when is it go time for Nick McConnell? Because we've seen him be cautious all race. At some point, he's going to have to take the risk and try and get past.
He's got 13 minutes still to do it. More than a quarter of the race left to go. Next up on the line is going to be Leskala, 3rd in the GTOs. Oh, but he's taking his racing line as he should. And this is causing hesitation from Gerber. Now he gets to the inside, takes the apex away from the fin. Mukanos not able to capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, Leskala had to know that Fabian was going to take that opportunity. He was right tucked in there. So, while Gerber really has that understanding of that chicane that Nick McConnell has yet to figure out here. But no, look at this, Gerber getting held up as they go through the downhill. This is McConnell's best opportunity, but he can't get the line to carry the speed off the corner.
Traffic giveth and traffic taketh. On the hood now, on the roof of the number 10. Still holding behind at about 0.4 of a second. Jamie Hall up in front of them. He's been done wrong by a lot of traffic. How well is he going to play with them?
They're not going to catch him before they start heading through the downhill. So Fabian Gerber's already going to start thinking about how he's going to handle Jamie Hall here. I think they might catch him on the straight because Hall was very quick through the chicane. Nick McConnell finally gets a good chicane there and is able to keep that gap to Fabian Gerber close down. No, it's going to be worse for Fabian Gerber because it's going to be on the downhill here. He's going to catch him right at the apex. That's going to hold him up a little bit. Okay, so Nick McConnell's not going to gain that much time here. Fabian Gerber just pumping the brakes a little bit, going through the downhill to make sure he was able to hit the apex.
And that is experience showing. And up in front of him now it's Rangel. Oh, and he isn't sure if he's going to track out on the exit of the corner. Slips through on the inside of the left-hander. Mukanos follows him through. You talked about planning ahead. How much as a GTP driver are you looking up there and thinking about how to get by someone? Oh, and well, there's your answer right there as he takes it shallow, and he's going to get a cut course penalty. Mukanos is going to be able to get by. Nick is your new leader.
And this is Trevor Kelly with a severely damaged GTP still tracking around this course. Fabian Gerber didn't lose that much time, but he's going to lose it here.
It looked like, oh, and he has to weave through the inside, now finally getting by. It almost looked like he thought maybe he could get to the inside of him by the corner. Why was he so shallow?
If you look at that, the brakes just locking up there for him on the left front, and that's what caused him to go out. He didn't realize that Trevor Kelly was so slow. He didn't realize his closing speed was that much. When we talk about planning for GTP drivers, it's all about trying to plan those passes with these GTOs, because if you don't, you end up with a situation like that where you overdo the car.
Kelly's taking a retirement. I think he realizes he's a bit of a danger out there. So Gerber now the chaser instead. What could he do on the opposite end of things? Oh, but he's going to get held up big time. And he's experiencing exactly what Nick Mukanos did for almost the entire race.
Now, don't think that Nick Mukanos is free and clear. He may have been able to cling to the back of Gerber, but Gerber's got better clean track speed. It's just the handling of traffic that Nick Mykonos has been able to do better here. So Mykonos now has to handle all the traffic for the next 10 minutes, and don't think that that is a short amount of time around this track.
Interestingly, the next ones up from them are two of the prototypes. That's Stella and Krejcik. So Stella's already a lap down. Krejcik is not. He's trying to stay on the lead lap here. They're going to catch them a little bit slower. And if they catch them with GTO traffic in the mix, that's going to complicate it all the more.
Now remember, without cautions, there isn't really a penalty for going a lap down. So trying to keep your lap isn't really going to make that much of a difference here with the fact that we don't have full course yellows in this series or in many of the road series in iRacing. And so that means that he shouldn't really be fighting too hard there for that sixth position. It looks like Tobias Gerber just had an off here going through the right-hander. And so he's now getting help. He's now holding, oh boy, this is going to be big. Here we go. Nick Mykonos, Fabian Gerber, nose to tail as they exit the chicane. And this is all because of Tobias Gerber holding up the traffic up ahead of them. This could get exciting.
Yeah, that's Stella in there as well. They're going to sneak to the inside of the GTO. Mykonos got held up, but Gerber also did. He's riding in the slipstream, staying down to the inside. Stella sees what's going on. That is great awareness right there, pulling out of the way. And so things clear up just a little bit.
And now Nick Mykonos has to figure out how to get past Seipelt, who's literally in the middle of the track right now. He's now taking his normal line. He's going to go to the apex here, and now Mykonos has to jump. He has to jump right now, and Gerber has to jump as well. They have to both make it past him before the chicane. They are able to do so. Gerber takes a look to the inside. I think he was just trying to straight line break there into the chicane. He's going to lose a little bit of time because of the shallow entry.
Regardless, probably looked like showing his nose to Mykonos. That's going to make him think twice. A little wide and a little time lost for Fabian Gerber as they've got some clean track finally for a corner. Hamill Smith up in front of them. I think they're going to catch him right in the braking zone. At least our leader is.
Gerber's able to get by as well, and if you're wondering why we haven't touched on the lead of the GTOs, Phil Lake still out to a 9-second lead, so there's no battle there. This is one of the closest battles on track for sure. In fact, it is the closest.
Oh boy, so next one up is Tobias Gerber, the brother of the driver chasing, Fabian. How much does blood count here? Is he going to help his brother out and maybe hold up Mykonos just a little bit for an opportunity, or is he going to pull over and let them both by evenly?
Now remember, this is an official session, but that doesn't mean that these guys don't treat this like a league. This is like a real championship to these guys, and so, you know, some of that, you know, hindering of the leader is not going to be smiled upon in the paddock for these guys. So expect Mykonos to hope that Gerber will let him by clean.
Yeah, you'd usually think. They tend to play fair, but these two brothers have worked together before, and Downey's now in front of him. So they've got multi-class traffic trying to lap, and here he comes, looking to the inside once more. Fabian Gerber thinks about it as Downey just dodges off into the runoff through the uphill turn. Gerber's going to let them both by, but the damage is done. Fabian is now right underneath that rear wing.
And Nick Mykonos is going to catch Jake Johansson near the apex of this corner. He's going to be able to carry the speed through, but Tobias Gerber gets a better launch. Nick Mykonos is going to block to the inside. Tobias is going to have to dive to the outside and try and make the pass on the outside of the corner. We see how dangerous that was with Krejcik, and Mykonos just lets him through.
Oh, early braking for Nick Mykonos, just not quite brave enough under defense. Fabian Gerber back up to the lead. Still 6 minutes to go. The fight is not over. And up in front of them, Martin Krejcik, the next one to be put a lap down.
Now remember, last race, Nick Mykonos, Phil Lake, and Jamie Hall, who are all Dirty Torque drivers, I believe, they were all very close on fuel at the end of that race. So we can it's possible that Nick Mykonos needs to save a little bit more fuel before he finishes. So 6 minutes to go with a lot of lap traffic ahead of them, battling lap traffic in the GTOs. This is going to get tense.
And that's Rangel, who's going to cause them all to check up. Then in front of them, that's Leskala, still fighting for this podium. This is being difficult because Gerber's got Krejcik, who's also trying to pick his way through. There's really almost no place that Martin can go here. Now he could pull over.
Yeah, but he's not going to, not really. He's going to hold up Gerber just a little bit there. Meccano's gonna make it to the apex cleanly.
There we
Krejcik
go.
gives it to him. Whew, man, I'm stressed out and I'm not even driving.
And Krejcik lost a little bit of time to Tobias Gerber, who's still back there trying to get back into P5. So he did have incentive to not give away too much. Those two still fighting for points. Our leaders now down to 5 minutes left to go. They got a string of GTOs, Lang and Hall, and Nicholas Weatherby, another one within their own class.
Okay, so Mecanos is going to be able to get past Lang, which was something I wasn't sure of before they get to the chicane. So now it's Jamie Hall. Jamie Hall has been taking his line and nothing else this entire race. So expected to do that here with Gerber. It does hold him up. Nick Mecanos is going to be able to get to the inside before Hall turns in. Yes, he is, but once again, has to take that shallow entry, which holds him up. But he does cling to the back of Gerber here. He's within 0.3 of a second.
And Tobias Gerber got a great run on Krejcik and got to the inside. Martin got held up out of the diving turn, and Tobias with a great move capitalizing.
And this is the battle for 5th position. That's now a lap down to our leaders, Fabian Gerber and Nick Mecanos, who are just up the road from them. And Krejcik looking a little bit off pace here.
Yeah, he was already under threat from Tobias, so the number 11 sneaking up into 5th, and I think 21 seconds up to Laus Olsen. Now, last time I said that's not doable, but you keep reminding us, Adam, that anything can happen at a place like this.
Just under 4 minutes to go here, and most of the battles have spread out. Krejcik to Gerber is the second closest battle we have. Then it's Mecanos and Fabian Gerber for the lead of the race. Those are our two biggest battles on track right now.
Looking at our leader in the GTO just for a little bit of love. And the number 3 has been well clear for most of this run. I think mostly just doing what he's doing right now is watching out for the traffic and trying to pick his line. Oh, and Fabian Gerber gets turned around.
And Nick Mecanos gets plowed into.
What in the world is going on? Both of them are facing backwards.
Antti Lepisto is coming up to the chicane shortly. Nick Mecanos is trying to power out now. Fabian Gerber still sideways. He's now straightened out. Oh my goodness, let's take a look at this. This was just a little bit of ghost contact, unfortunately. And then Tobias Gerber just plows into the rear end of Nick Mecanos, expecting him to go.
Yeah, I mean, he probably couldn't see what was going to happen in front of him. These wings really cover up a lot of your vision. Oh.
Well, if you thought that was going to separate our battle for the lead, you were dead wrong, because Nick Mecanos and Fabian Gerber, now with Nick Mecanos in the lead, are still separated by 0.5 of a second. We know Mecanos took a big shot to the rear end, but that's not where the aerodynamic effect is for these cars. So both Gerber and Mecanos should be okay after all of this, believe it or not. We're going to see when they get to the straight, though. Gerber quite close, and we know he's so good through this chicane.
It's one of the weirdest moments I think we've seen in battles for the lead in this series, and that's saying something. As we now see, is this 2 laps to go or 3 as they cross the line?
Yeah, they're both
like
fine on
3.
top speed, Joe. This is unbelievable. Even after all of that chaos, they've not only retained the lead, but they get away still maintaining their speed that they had before.
Lepisto's probably wondering what in the world happened that I've caught both the leaders this quickly. And now within 3 seconds. As we watch on board Lepisto, just up the way you can see our top 2. They've got more traffic still left to go. I know it says final lap on our time and scoring. That is not correct. Oh, and our leaders get held up. In fact, Mecanos is under threat. Gerber, I thought maybe he'd have a run, but he also had to take a shallow line through diving turn.
Yeah, we saw that hold up Nick Mecanos quite a bit here, but now they have Jamie Hamill-Smith that they're going to have to deal with here, and Jamie Hamill right in the middle of the track. Nick Mecanos can't figure out where to go here. He's going to be able to make it past on the outside. Fabian Gerber is going to follow him through, which swaps over to the inside of the track. And Nick looking like he's having some connection issues. That could be really unfortunate. We saw him have a DC last season. And if that happens right now, what a heartbreak that would be. There's a big pileup up ahead of them. This is Tobias Gerber and Pablo Suarez that got together that they're about to go by. So once again, it's just never ending for these two.
And I think we'll be getting the white flag this time by. down into the turn. Once again, he has to check up because that's Zeipelt, and this offers an opportunity. He's going to cover off the inside. Last time he didn't brake late enough to try and hold on to the lead. Has he learned his lesson? Not quite. Fabian Gerber, with 1 lap to go, is going to get back up to the front. What can Mukanos do to get this position back? He's been so close so many times. Is this where we finally see Nick get aggressive? He is right behind him, sporting a little bit of damage on the nose of that car. They come up to the braking for the chicane. He's not quite in a position to try and attack. They're going to come up on Riley Downey. Will this play an effect in the battle? Will this lap traffic give him the chance that he needs? Fabian Gerber starting to pull away a little bit here. Downey staying to the outside. He might still hold him up. He has to check up a little bit. Is this enough for Nick Mukanos? He's closing, but it isn't. Fabian Gerber wins here at Lime Rock in round 2.
What an insane race for those two. They battled it tooth and nail the whole time around.
Let's go to Phil Lake, who's going to take the victory. Probably the quietest victory we've ever seen here at Lime Rock for the GTOs.
And Jamie Hall, 11 seconds back, is going to be able to come home and take second place. I think he's out of fuel. He's out of fuel. Juco Lascala not quite close enough. Jamie Hall will coast across the line for second.
Wow, Hall cut that one close. Usually we don't see drivers run out of fuel in this series in a sprint race. That's going to be everybody now coming across the line. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back, and after we catch our breath, we'll give you the official results as well as driver interviews. On screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Back to Lime Rock Park. We just watched round 2 in the Kamel GT series, and Fabian Gerber took the win by a 10th and a half at the line. Nick Mukanos trying to fight him the whole way, and Fabian even taking the lead after the white flag to take the victory here today. Mukanos still looking for that first win. Lepisto, we didn't mention, was only 6 seconds back. He had caught a lot, but then fell back a little bit at the end. Laust Olsen, the last car on the lead lap, only 4 of them at the end on the lead lap here, but still a nice, just shy of a podium there for Laust Olsen. And 4th, Pablo Suarez with the top 5, a lap down. Martin Krejcik finishing in 6th, was followed by Tobias Gerber, who didn't have any luck here today, I have to say. Just unfortunately got caught up in a lot of things, sometimes not his fault. Hideki Koivisto finished P8 with Nicholas Weatherby in the 9th position, and rounding it out perfectly for us of the drivers who finished in the prototypes, Paulo Stella in 10th.
Phil Lake took a commanding victory today, coming home with the win. Jamie Hall from 12th position in class makes it up to second on the grid. That is really impressive, especially here at a track that's really hard to pass. Juco Lascala starting from second place, just could not battle with Phil for the whole time and ends up falling down to third. Jake Johansson with an awesome performance today comes home in the fourth position. Ralph Zeipelt comes home in fifth after battling with Ryan Lang for quite a while. And then Pablo Rangal comes home in seventh position with Riley Downey in eighth spot and Jamie Hamill-Smith in ninth. Then we have the drivers who had trouble. Trevor Kelly down there in 20th overall. Then we have Alexei Dormidanov, Bert Olson, Clayton McLeod, Richard Spitzmaller, and Fabian Jungbluth are our final driver. Jim McGill also did not start.
Well, we've got our winner in the GTOs ready to talk to us. It's Phil Lake. And Phil, even though you had a pretty wide margin of victory, especially for this track at the end, I have to ask you about the incident with Fabian Jungbluth hitting the wall in front of you. Did the win flash before your eyes at that moment?
It did. It did quite a few times in that race. It's a very difficult track, I think, for multi-class, especially with the chicane. There was a lot of talk leading up into the race about where to pass, and I mean, there's no right answer. A lot of the passes were difficult today, and yeah, like you said, even with a big lead, it can all disappear in an instant. So I just had to keep my eyes on a swivel for the whole race.
Certainly mentioned that multiple times that drivers can't count on anything out here. Now, it seemed like the light was going down a fair bit. So you guys had another evening race here today. Does that make it difficult with how dim it gets out here towards the end in the Audi?
I didn't really notice, to be honest. I was just staring at the track, so I didn't notice the sky getting darker. So it's not. I don't think it's as much of an issue in VR as it maybe is for some of the guys running with monitors. But I didn't notice it today at all.
Clearly, we need to get Dougie to get us some cameras with a little bit of better night vision here. But a victory here at Lime Rock Park takes us now off to Barber. And that one is another one where passing seems to be difficult in this series. Is that one that you're going to immediately be getting out for practice next week?
Yeah, definitely. With the new tyres this season, it's been a bit of a guessing game up till this point. Monza's a bit of a specialist track, so we didn't really learn that much from there. And then Lime Rock again is mostly right-handers, so we need some tracks with a good mix of right and left-handers to really get our heads around the tyres, and then we'll hopefully have a solid baseline to work with.
Yeah, we didn't.
So yeah, lots of testing next week.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the tires. We were so focused on the traffic here today. Well, Phil, best of luck when you head down to Alabama. And again, congratulations on a victory.
Yeah, I'll see you there. Thanks, guys.
As Phil in and around the lake, finishing in first today. And our winner in the GTPs was Fabian Gerber. Adam's talking to him.
Yeah, Fabian, to say that was an eventful race would be an understatement. Talk me through your last 3 laps from the wreck to the pass on Nick.
It was really strange because it was actually pretty much the same like at Monza. I had to brake, and because Phil turned in and he let through a Nissan and couldn't let me through because he had nowhere to go, so I braked and would have let him go. But Nick probably didn't see that or realize that, and then hit me from behind. And then my brother hit him, so that actually made him damage, so it was easy for me to overtake him in the end. And it was good timing in the final lap, so I was glad I got it back for the second time. It was tough. I would have been sad not winning this.
Yeah, you and Nick were working really hard to cut through the traffic there, and he clung on to you quite effectively there. But talk to me about the traffic. It seemed pretty chaotic out there today.
Yes, to say the least. It was really, really tough. I'm exhausted right now. There was just no space, and with the chicane it was even worse than with the normal layout from the track. So it's just there's so little space on the track to overtake. It's really, you have to hope that the Audi sees you, and Nissan were even worse at times. Some just didn't seem to realize I was trying to lap them, so that cost me at times even more time, I think, especially in 2 cases. So yeah, it's hard to explain, but it was really tough.
All right, so we do know that you guys grabbed the new tires for this season. How are those behaving on such a short track with so many low-speed corners today?
It was okay. The car seems more controllable, so if I guess it's easier to drive if you're new to it, because you can actually save it sometimes. Some situations where you just lost it last season, you can still save when you're too early in the gas or a bit too late on the brakes. So it's actually gotten better. You have more feel, but it's still hard to tell because in that traffic I hardly had any. Just at the beginning we called tires 3 laps, so it's hard to say how they develop during the race. So we have to wait another couple of races to really be able to tell.
Well, Fabian, next week you head off to Barber. Talk to me about that track from your opinion.
It's maybe similar to today. I never thought this track suited very well our series. It's also very hard to overtake. There's not even a real straight on this track, so it's gonna be tough again.
Well, Fabian, fantastic win today. A hard-fought one, full of action, and congratulations, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
That was Fabian Gerber, our first place finisher in the GTPs. Back to you, Phil.
Not here, and instead I'll take it over as we close things out. And of course, we want to thank the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We'd hate to miss races like this. And also, additional thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. We've got our merchandise store linked below. That's gsrc.storenvy.com. And while you scroll down there, make sure and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Down to Alabama. We're going to be there Saturday, June 27th. It'll be 1 p.m. Eastern, just like we had today. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so make sure and mark those down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.